Hi everyone, welcome to the Active Knowledge series, Transition, Orienteering the Lands for Succession. Today, Chapter 8, we are stepping into the land of legacy. And as you'll see coming up on the screen now, is our orienteering map, and you can see legacy is sitting down in this bottom right hand corner. It is part of that foundation of goals, family and legacy, which underpin our business, underpins our wealth, and will allow us to step into the land of decision. As with goals and as with family, it is a critical land which we need to nail what our legacy is going to be and make sure we understand it and get it right. So let's start talking about what is a legacy. Legacy for me is not what you leave behind, it's what you are creating for the future. You can say it's your footprint, it's all the things you've done during your life, but I would hope it is what I have seeded, maybe the foundation I have set for future growth, future prosperity of my family and of the community in which I have built and grown my businesses. I think it's not so much, again, coming back to that, not what I did during my lifetime, but what endures and continues once I'm no longer around. Often legacy is seen in the context of estate planning. It's something which I'm giving to a charitable cause or setting up a foundation. And these are important, and these are key aspects of your succession planning. They typically kick out of estate planning, but in succession planning, we need to be aware and conscious of these to make sure they are allowed for, accounted for, and recognized, especially in things like the family charter. But today, we're going to take a different track. We're going to look at your legacy being the business which you have created and what you do with that. And I think this can be one of the greatest legacies which you leave and pass on. Your greatest legacy can be when your business continues without you and achieves even greater success than you had. And that can be challenging many times for the ego. But if you sit there and you say, look what I have created, look at the team which I've put into this business, they are doing greater things than I ever could have done by myself. It's you who have laid the foundation for that future success. It's you who have enabled and seeded it. Transition, this succession process which we're talking about now and working our way through, it can be the process that enables and brings to full life your legacy. And I think that is a really good way to do it. Your business as a legacy can endure and can have a far greater impact than any gift you may give. Why do I say that? Think of these words: unity, purpose, connection, impact. A business which is the center and the core of your family can provide a connection between the entire family. It can create a purpose for the family to come together, a commonality between them, and as families grow, that becomes even more important. It certainly can serve as somewhere for everyone to work and to earn a living and to understand hard work. It can produce a prosperity which goes through many generations of the family. But it goes a bit further than that, because your business is not just about the wealth it generates for the family. It is about the community which it supports, of employees, of suppliers, of customers. And the impact which your family business has had on that community can continue to grow if it is transitioned well. So again, repeating that message, today is about the transition of your business as your legacy. And I think that's, again, one of the most important things which you can do. So what are we going to look at today? Topics always: guiding principles, dangers, and then into the base camp. Guiding principles, dangers, then into the base camp. Before we step down that path, wouldn't mind just to take a step, not backwards, but back up through our map and just look at what we've done in goals and family and how that leads us into this land of legacy. Coming up on the screen is just that flashcard of the land of goals, my exit card, my tick to step out of the land. Before you leave this land, you'll have developed a clear set of goals agreed to by the family and other key stakeholders against which you can clearly assess your process. If you recall the land of goals, it's about two things. It was understanding the foundational goal of transition, which was to enable the compounding of wealth from generation to generation while ensuring family unity, individual growth, and a sense of contribution. That's my foundation. But we then took that and we expanded that out to make them far more tailored and specific to your family. So we have a set of goals which are the starting point of what we're seeking to achieve as we process through, as we journey through the lands of succession. And we know they'll become clearer, they'll become more articulate as we go through each land. It's our starting point, it's set our summit for us. So that was the land of goals. And then we went from the land of goals straight across into the land of family. Family's complex, as we know. And in the land of family, we're seeking to build the foundation for harmony in the family. We're talking about how we're going to communicate with the family, how we're going to bring them together to talk about the succession journey and what continues after that. We established regular family meetings focused on succession. We developed a family charter. I would say the most important document and action you can take in succession is your family charter, because it sets the future path for your family and your business. We sought to identify future leaders. We sought to identify a role for each individual person in the family, how they can grow and how they can contribute. And we started the journey of building a unified team in the family, which is going to set the foundations and continue the journey of the family to future generations. Goals, family, we now slide across into legacy. And to some extent, the question we're asking is, my business can be the most important asset I pass across to the next generation because of all the things it can do within the family to endure and continue the growth, and let me just say the word, the goodness of family. And we want to get this right. So now as we step into the land of legacy, let us think about what is going to be the foundations and the things I need to do to make sure what I've done in my life continues forward into the next generations. And we continue to grow and strengthen not only the business, not only the wealth, but the unity which exists within our family. Guiding principles. The land of legacy, there's only one. I think it's principle number 7 is the number. Ask before you get lost. Ask before you get lost. In some businesses, in some well-established and successful businesses, leadership can get to a stage where they say, this is pretty simple, I will do this by myself. Succession, family business succession is something which you should always seek advice on. And this principle is basically saying that. The underlying theme that runs through all the guiding principles, ask before you get lost. The themes are of early considerations of issues, forward planning, clear processes, independent and objective thought, mediation, communication. The theme evidences the clear need for someone who has got experience and understanding of succession in family businesses and can work with you to follow the guiding principles, avoid the dangers, and achieve the goals which you are setting for your family. The practice of ask early, ask often, no matter what, I think is one you just want to bring beside you as you go through this journey. You want that independent and objective voice. You want it to be sitting beside you in the process, but you want it there because that is your biased-free observer, your biased-free advisor. And they are the voice which is sitting there and speaking to you and saying, what about this? Have we thought about this? I don't think this is a good idea. This is what experience tells us we should work on. The other aspect which I just want to speak about in this ask before you get lost is succession draws in a lot of skills. And you'll just see coming up on the screen a listing of all the things which typically you touch on in succession. You know, business strategy, corporate finance, structuring and governance, estate planning, executive coaching, wealth management, all sorts of legal aspects, insurance, superannuation, management succession, that transition, risk management, taxation. Those are sort of the business things. But then you have sitting and intertwined with that family, individual growth, contribution, role, unity, history, values, and what is our place in the communities in which we're working. There are all sorts of things you're going to be touching on, and you'll have many professional advisors working, especially across those business areas. However, as you'll see in the diagram, there is a lens, and all of that has got to be looking through the lens of succession to the goals you have set. That fundamental core goal, enabling compounding of wealth from generation to generation while ensuring family unity, individual growth, and a sense of contribution. And then the articulated and more detailed individual family goals for us. This is where your independent succession advisor is that filter. They sit there working with all of the professional advisors into these areas and drawing them in to get that filter correct. And hopefully that independent succession advisor has knowledge across all of these areas. Principle number 1 is basically this theme of ask before you get lost. Ask early, ask often, seek advice, and have that person with you. And we sit this principle in the land of legacy because it's basically saying to us, we are setting the foundation and seeding the future. Let's get this right, because these foundations, if this seeding is not correct, we have a problem. That's principle. Principle number 7, ask before you get lost in the land of legacy. Stepping forward now into dangers, and you'll see again coming up on the screen our map, and we've circled the 3 dangers which exist in the land of legacy: the volcano, the lost ship, and the barren lake. Volcano, lost ship, barren lake. Let's look at each one of these. And just a reminder that we looked at these in detail in chapter 4. So if you want to, you can step back into chapter 4 and check out and understand a bit more all the dangers which you face on the journey. So we'll just touch on these briefly, make sure we understand the context in the land of legacy. First one, volcanoes, fiery relationships and conflicts. Family harmony has not been achieved and conflict has erupted within the family. So we speak about unity, individual growth, sense of contribution. These are the elements which we need to sustain to ensure now and into the future that we in actual fact have family harmony, because harmony underpins the compounding of wealth across generations. There's little chance of unity in the family and a compounding of wealth if there is conflict between family members. It will destroy unity, it will destroy wealth, it will break the family apart, and we've all seen this in many different cases. As we spoke about in the land of family, excellent communications, very clear processes, an understanding of the processes which we're working to and the decisions which they generate and why the decisions are being made is the fundamental bread and butter, if I can use that expression, of sustaining harmony and avoiding the family relationship breakdowns. That's the first part of it. If I understand what's being done, why it's being done, and why decisions are being made, it stops second guessing. It stops rumors. It stops this lack of knowledge. It begins to mitigate the chance that people will begin to see things which actually don't exist. This creation of this family harmony, it is a must, no matter how secure and comfortable you are in the unity in your family. Because as you begin to go through this journey, many things will begin to tease up. So this sense of making sure I'm proactive in identifying where there may be some tension in relationships and making sure our process does not aggravate those is critical. Volcano, don't ignite it. First danger. Coming back on the screen, our diagram, our map. Second danger, the lost ship, which you can see is basically ground of the self on the land of legacy. Not a good thing. Lost ship. Future leadership has not been developed and is unable to steer the ship. Therefore, we've run aground. Many successful businesses are built upon the capability of a small team. There may be just a founding leader or a leader who has come into the business who's just grown it substantially. And with that can become a sense of, I know what's right, I know where we need to go to, and I have a real sense of what's important. But as you begin to go on this transition, the succession journey, you need to begin to release that, because what you need to do is to say, so where is the next leadership team? Who is going to not continue my work and sense of what I did, but who's going to continue to take responsibility for this business and continue to grow it? What I did for the last 40 years to build this business is unlikely to be what I need to do to grow it to the next 40 years. I need to make sure I create and find a leadership team which can do that, which can see that. And just an expression which I'll just speak to now. Capital value of a business lies in certainty. The capital value of a business lies in certainty, and it is the certainty of its ability to produce an enduring income that underpins this value. The key catalyst of this certainty is ultimately leadership, and if you do not develop leaders early enough, then value is limited. So this lost ship danger is, have I actually created a leadership team which can take control of the ship and steer it where it needs to be? I always have to be looking for leaders at all levels of the business in all parts. I need to be investing in leadership skills and traits wherever possible. It does not matter if I see those leaders being within the family or outside the family. I need to bring them on board early, train them, develop them, and build a confidence in them early. It's not the type of thing you can turn around and say, look, I'm going to step away in 12 months' time. Who's going to take over? Too late. Too late, especially if it's someone in the family. You want to be growing them as leaders for a much longer period of time. The lost ship. The lost ship, and again, just coming up on the screen is the map. The lost ship is directly connected to the barren lake. And you can see the barren lake is pushing into the land of business. What's the barren lake? The future of the business is uncertain. So you think of the lost ship, I haven't got the leadership team I need. Then the barren lake is, have I set the path for the future prosperity of this business? The markets in which I compete, the people who I can compete against, the needs of the customers, my connections, my relationships, what was there over the last 40 years is not going to see us through for the next 40 years. I must always have an eye to the future and continuously seek to position and equip the business for enduring success. I need to ensure that the business prospers well beyond me and the current leadership team. It has to prosper into the hands of a new team. And just let me express it this way. The ability of a business to be successful in the future is dependent upon its ability to craft that future, to see the possibilities that no one else has, and to step forward and lead the market and the customers to a new level of value. Pretty big statement, but this is what enduring success requires: an adaptability to see opportunities and continually move in and grasp them before anyone else has. Have you created the leadership team which can do that? Have you seeded a DNA in your business which it is who they are? The capability to create and see the future. That is what the barren lake is warning you about. Have you done that? Or is the business dependent upon you and a small team, and once you step out, there's a gaping gap? So there's three dangers which we need to be conscious of: volcano, lost ship, barren lake. They are about making sure conflict does not destroy my legacy and making sure I have seeded what is going to be the future leadership and the future prospects of the business so it continues forward. These are the dangers which sit within the land of legacy. Let's now step into the base camp. And there's just this expression which sits with me in the base camp for legacy: my life's work. Legacy is about my life's work. But it's not about looking back and seeing what I've done. It is my life's work impacting the future, continuity and growth. Honestly, it doesn't matter whether I'm going to transition the business along family lines, whether I'm going to break it up and sell some and keep some, whether I'm going to put a management team in to run it and move the family into a position of equity holders, or whether I'm going to sell it. My business supports a community. Part of the community is the family. The other parts, as we've spoken about, is the employees, the suppliers, and the customers. Your legacy impacts that entire community. And what I think you should be doing when you think about legacy and the transition of your business is making sure that what you've created continues to grow into the future. My life's work impacting the future, continuity and growth. That is the theme I see in the base camp, no matter what option you may choose. Succession planning represents the capping off of your life's work, the accumulation of years of effort. Doesn't mean you're dead, but this season of your business is being transitioned over. I pray you're not dead yet, that you'll continue. But how well you do transition, it will determine the future prosperity of your family and the future generations of your family. It's about underpinning the longevity of the business. It also impacts, as we know, that wider community and their well-being and their prosperity and their goodness and their health. John Maxwell, who speaks a lot into the area of leadership, he describes legacy in this way, and I think it's a good description. A legacy is created only when a person puts their organization in a position to do great things without them. That's why we talk about legacy in the terms of here in this chapter and in this orienteering process about legacy is a transition of your business. Can you put your organization in a position to do great things without you, to grow beyond? Can you seed that? Can you create those foundations? This is what we want to do in our land of legacy. So we're going to look at just four themes and just touch on them. First one, I just start with the unexpected and planning for the unexpected and being ready for the unexpected. The second one, a new CEO. And that's just a way of describing a new leadership team coming in. 3, the third topic, I want to talk about advisory boards and the role of the people you bring in to support the new leadership team. And the last one I want to touch on is life cycles. Where is my business and where is it going to? Because that impacts not only that new leadership team, the new CEO, but also the advisory board. So 4 themes we're going to speak into in the base camp, which I believe growing out of the family and the creation of the family charter will give you the legacy which you're seeking. First theme in the base camp, the unexpected. Illness, death, bitter disputes. Illness, death, bitter disputes. Marriage breaks up, partnership breaks up in the business, all sorts of things can happen. Something unexpected happens and your thoughts and your plans as to where the business will go to and what would happen are suddenly out the door. What is the mitigation of this? Pre-planning, putting things in place early. So no matter what happens, there is a contingency in place and the continuity of the business, the safeguarding of your legacy is there and established. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I've got 5 here. 5 questions which I just want to read through. And if you can answer these questions, yes, you're pre-planning, your contingencies are in place, and that will mitigate the impact of the unexpected. 5. 1. Have you modeled leadership in a way that will underpin the future growth of the business? Have you modeled leadership in a way that will underpin the future growth of the business? Have you set an example of what leadership, what worthy leadership is like to allow the business to learn that, to know that, to all the leaders in your business existing and potentially future, see that and can follow that? That's the first one. Are the correct governance processes and structures in place to provide the balance of control and adaptability the business will require in the future? Again, have you modeled that? Have you established that? Have we got the adaptability in the business so we can go forward if someone in a critical position is not around? Correct governance processes and structures. Third, is the right leadership team in place? And importantly, the right new CEO. And this doesn't happen overnight, as I mentioned before. This is a long drawn path of several years to get the team to where it needs to be. Have you got them there so in a moment's notice they can step in and continue the work which maybe you've been leading and maybe some others have been leading? The right leadership team. 4, have you built? Can you see? Do you know what your advisory board will look like? Which can guide and support the business and its leaders? The presence, the ability to put an advisory board together quickly should we need it. The last one, number 5, comes out of the family charter. Have you created the governance structure that will allow the family and the stakeholders to have confidence in leadership's ability to guide and grow the thriving business. And we've looked at this structure, and we'll look at it again in a few minutes' time. Just I'll flash it up again. But coming out of the family charter is the structure which will allow the family and a separate and distinct business to work together. Modeled leadership, correct governance processes, structures, right leadership team, advisory board, created the governance structure to build confidence for the family as it goes forward. If you have worked on these and you've ticked these off, then if something unexpected happens, you are ready. So part of your legacy is being ready for the unexpected, because it often happens. The second theme, the second area I wanted to look at in the base camp, and it's a big one, is what I'm just calling the new CEO. The new CEO. First point, sooner or later, there's going to be a new CEO. If the business continues, there will be a new CEO. Often in succession, we have a sense where we're focused on maximizing sale value, minimizing taxation liability, getting all those things organized. And that is great, and they are important. But if I don't get the right leadership team in place, if there's lack of harmony in the family, if there's family disputes, if there's this lack of planning, all of that will be gone. So really, getting the sense of who the new CEO will be, what the governance structure will be surrounding them, how we're going to underpin the capital value and ensure it grows and is not destroyed, how the business is going to be transferred, whether it's outright sale, whether it's a breakup, whether it's in family, this sense of what that new leadership team will look like and who the CEO will be, better sooner than later. Even if they're not in place in that position, they are there, known and ready to slide in. This is the training of the new leadership team and the key leaders to step into it. So the first point here under the new CEO, sooner or later there will be one. Prepare for it, plan for it. Again, continue with the next CEO. The second point I wanted to make is best qualified. Often in family businesses, it is one of the children who is nominated, designated, seen as the person who will naturally step into that role. That's fine, that often happens. But what I would say here is you want to make sure that they are the best qualified, which means you just don't want to say it's your job, it's your role, it's your responsibility, it's your inheritance. You want to say that, and I have prepared you for it, and I have complete confidence in your ability to do that. You must train and develop future leaders. You must surround them with the best possible people. Even if you don't know who's going to be the one who's going to step up to be CEO, you want that team of potential people being prepared. Now, often families will say to the kids, you need to go work over here and get some knowledge and experience in this and bring it back into our business. They'll often rotate children through various roles so they have an experience. Be careful with that, because if I spend 6 months here, 6 months there, 6 months there, I probably know nothing about everything. You want to test the capability and the suitability of the children to step into whatever role you may have for them, and not to reject them or discount them, but to grow and develop them and allow them to form a view as to whether it's something they would like to do and can do. This language of best qualified becomes quite important. Sooner or later, best qualified. The third area I just wanted to speak about under the new CEO is traits and competencies. How do I know? How do I know what traits and competencies that person needs? This is where your strategic planning and your strategic business plan and the sense of being able to see the future comes in. I'm not looking for a CEO who's me. I'm not looking for a CEO who is a clone. I'm not looking for a CEO who can do what I did for the last 40 years. I'm looking for someone who can create the next 40 years. My strategic business plan hopefully is looking into the future, is understanding where the strengths of our business are, where our core competencies are. It's having a view of where the future is going to move to and all the things which are going to impact it, and how need from our customers and clients are going to change. And we're saying, these are the traits we're looking for in that next leadership, that next team which is coming in. They need to have these experiences, they need to have these competencies, they need to have this character. And I think the other aspect is important, values. Values come from the family and they need to adhere to, own and accept and live the values which the family think are important. Sooner or later, best qualified, traits and competencies, mutual understanding and commitment, the fourth aspect of the new CEO. I can't see anyone worth their salt accepting a position unless they know what they are in for and the responsibilities and duties and goals they need to achieve. So this conversation about where the business is going to and how the family is going to work with the new management team becomes vital. We have to get that right. We have to carefully consider the path along which the business is going to be steered and how the family is going to interact, and whoever that new CEO and leadership team is, they need to understand and accept and sign off on that, and we need to understand, sign and accept and sign off on that as well, the family, the new leadership team. And I just call this mutual understanding, mutual commitment. That is important. You must have that in place. The last aspect, just wanted to speak to in the new CEO, is the governance structure. And just popping up on the screen is again what you've seen several times before, what can be typically a very simple expression of a governance structure in an evolved family business where I have my board, I have my advisory board, I have my CEO and senior leadership team. They're probably sitting on this side of the screen, not this side. And then you have the family council. In essence, they're representing the shareholder group, which are the families below. This is the governance structure which you surround the CEO and the new leadership team with. It is their protection, it is their support, it is their responsibility. The family charter and the articulation of that into various legal documents will create the necessary separation and governance structure and reporting structures. It's important that be there. And it becomes even more important as the family grows and as the business grows, because there'll be tensions around that. And the new CEO has to be aware and comfortable of that and able to speak into it. So when I think about the new CEO and I begin to accept the fact that someone else is going to step into that senior leadership position, the language I will use is sooner or later, but sooner better than later. What does best qualified mean? What do I need them to have? What traits and competencies are stepping out of that best qualified? I really want the best person in there. I want to make sure the best qualified. So what traits and competencies do they need to have? I want there to be very clear mutual understanding and commitment, what they're stepping into and what we're expecting to step them into. And I want to put a governance structure around them which will support them and protect the family. The new CEO, a significant amount of work in the base camp just to not just allow this to fall into a default position, but to really think it out and to work your way forward. The last aspect of the CEO, just before I leave it, one which is often ignored and can be an Achilles heel, which really creates disharmony in the family, reward structure. You need to reward the CEO basically for what they are doing today and what they're doing for tomorrow. It needs to be simple, transparent, unambiguous, no issues surrounding it. It is rewarding for your performance today, it's rewarding for your performance tomorrow. It's rewarding you for what you are doing above and beyond what the business already does. It's not rewarding you for what we've done for the last 10 years. You're going to take it above that. Your base salary rewards you for just keeping it where it is. Anything above that has got to be for what you contribute. It is about current profit, and it's about the long-term capital value of the business. It's about current profit and above, and the long-term capital value of the business. There's an area just as I step into this. Equity. CEOs come into these roles and they say, where is my equity? There are many ways of creating a shadow equity which does not involve giving them shares. My view is, even if they are a family member, they do not get any additional shares. They do not get a slice of the equity in the business that is held in the family. We will reward you for staying with the business in the long term. We will reward you for the growth and the value of the business. And we can do that in many different ways, but you will not get a piece of the action in the sense of own and therefore have a voting right and control. In family businesses and in the transition process and in the continuum of the business, I believe that is not the best option and causes real problems. So I just wanted to finish on that note on the CEOs. The reward structure becomes very important. Stepping forward now, advisory boards. The third area I wanted to speak into in the base camp. The appointment of advisory board can be one of the most important decisions you make in succession for ensuring the enduring success of the business. What's an advisory board? What's it look like? Well, it's a group of independent advisors. The key words are independent, character, competency, experience, advice and support. They are selected on the basis of their character, their competency, their experience to advise and support the management team. Key words again, independent, character, competency, experience, advice and support. And I think one of the most important words in there is independent, because often they are not and they need to be to do the work they need to do. Your advisory board can be a valuable resource to the organisation, no matter where it is in its life cycle, and particularly valuable in a transition context. It provides an opportunity to bring to the table a range of expert advice which may otherwise not be there or may be lost in the transition process. It permits a forum for an informal discussion and exploration of business ideas, business challenges, what we should do, what we shouldn't do in a closed context. It provides therefore a safe environment to challenge management thinking, for this independent team to challenge the way the new team of managers are thinking and to draw them forward. Now, depending on how the whole governance structure is set up, these advisory members can be sitting on the board of directors, they can be working with the CEO, they can be working with senior management. There's many levels which they can work at. And we're wanting to introduce these people who've got the right mix of experience and expertise. They are advisors. So some important facts about your advisory board. They are not directors of the company and they do not have any voting rights. They are not directors of the company and they do not have any voting rights. As you saw in that diagram, they are sitting off to the side advising the board. They'll be sitting off to the side advising the CEO. I hear you, but I don't have to follow you, basically, is where they sit. No voting rights. They are independent, which means they have no financial interest in the business whatsoever. They'll be paid a fee, hopefully, for the advisory work they're given. They do not have equity. They do not get bonuses. They are not in some way connected with the business, being a supplier or something like that. They are paid for the work they do, and that is it. Independent. They're selected on the basis of character, competency, and experience. They need to believe in the same values that the family do, which have underpinned the business, I'm sure. They have to have the right character so they can connect with the people they're meant to be advising and working with. And then it's competency and experience. It's not just someone who you know. Yes, you have to trust them, but you're putting them there, in one sense, not to look over the shoulder of the new leadership team, but you're putting them there to help the new leadership team. They will be working with the leadership team. They will not be your spy to make sure the leadership team does what you would have done. Okay? That's not their purpose. They are there to add to and expand the knowledge which the business can tap into in growing and creating this enduring success which you want for the next generation. This sense of who I select for the advisory board becomes quite important. Last theme in the base camp is life cycles. And this ties back into the advisory board and it ties back into the new CEO. And it's really just having a recognition of where are we? So we'll see a diagram coming up in a second. All businesses transition through various stages of life. They often repeat, I believe, this cycle. It's not up, down, dead, gone. No. Often they repeat as they renew themselves, as they evolve, as they step into new ventures, as they create new businesses. It's important that you be conscious of what stage the business is in. It's important, even more important, that you know this when you're looking at a transition, and it's going to impact choice of CEO, the composition of the board, and importantly what we're talking about now, is the advisory board, to make sure you're matching those to the life cycle. So just kicking up on the screen now is a very simple life cycle diagram which I use. Inception, just born, walking and talking, establishing identity, developing self, testing limits, matured and settled, maybe opportunity, going into something new, evolving, oops, not, maybe too settled, really settled, slowing down, irrelevant and gone. And I said these cycles can be repeated. You want to have a sense of where are we in the business in this transition process. And this has a couple of contexts. You can have a transition, and let's just assume it's transition in a family context. I'm passing on to the family. Sometimes it's not the business as a whole. Sometimes the business gets broken up into parts to allow different family members to assume different responsibilities. Sometimes a section will be broken off and will go by itself. Sometimes you'll sell something off and keep something new which can be grown. There's all sorts of variations and hopefully flexibility and adaptability in your business so you can mold that business to what is required for the future. And we'll touch on this when we talk about the land of business and business strategy. So just be conscious of the fact that we're not talking necessarily about this is what I've built and this is what I'm passing. No, it can be in many ways, you use the term divided, it can be multiplied in many different ways. So let's just think about this. And what I've just kicked up on the screen now is worked my way through are the stages of that life cycle and how in actual fact you need to think about who's the right person. We'll just talk through these, so just bear with me as we go through them. The first three stages, inception. Okay, you're saying to a child, all right, you want to not be part of the existing business, you would like to create this new business, we'll give you some capital and you can go and do that. So you're starting off a new business. And there's some family members who are excited about this opportunity. It's their passion, they're leaning into it. They're full of ideas, they've got dreams, they've got needs, and they've got to get some direction and action. What they probably need is someone helping them is it's almost like a sounding board. Could be a single individual experienced in the area they're going into or where they want to lean into. They're going to help them build some foundations and act as a sounding board. That's sort of that inception stage. And if you just carry that path forward, okay, I'm now up and going, the business is there. So there's just born stage. It's commenced, but now it's trying to survive, trying to breathe and establish itself. What's the need of the business? Growth. We need to grow. We need some work. We need some revenue. So maybe you've got now more than one person, and these advisory people are not sitting there full time. They're being there on an ad hoc basis, a regular ad hoc basis, but they're being called in. Maybe there's more than one person. Those who have connections, those can help the business grow rapidly to get to this sort of critical mass. So who can I pull in to help do this? Then you've got your feet on the ground now and you go into what I call walking and talking. Toddler. The business has a foundation, but it's jumping from one bushfire to another as it's trying to solve problems. And one of the problems often is cash flow. So this is where you're now beginning to get a real advisory board in place. You've got now a couple, maybe 3 people in place. They're requiring more strategic advice. They're trying to build a strong foundation. They need to get the cash flow going, get the financial health strong. So this is sort of what I call this first quarter basically going through. Then go into the second quarter. They're now established. They're establishing their identity. They're beginning to get a sense of who they are, where they're best positioned in the market. So it's gone from ideas to reality. They're trying to focus on what they do best because that's where I'm going to be able to lean in and be successful. And therefore I need advisory board members who can help me focus on that and help me lean into that. The next stage, I'm now developing this self-identity. It's a strong foundation, beginning to grow strongly, and now I'm creating my own bushfires because I'm creating my own problems which I'm going to solve. Typically, systems and processes, I haven't invested in these because I haven't had the money. So the advisory board is now formed, it's more formalized now. It's focused on building more management and governance structures. It's putting in place the systems and processes that will sustain the business, make sure it's compliant and keep it out of trouble. It's developing self. We're now continuing on, testing limits. The next stage, it's getting bigger, it's looking further in the future, it's now taking bigger bets, bigger risks. Control, direction, risk mitigation. Strong financial and business advice required. Now to ensure the bigger bets are well thought out and do not risk the whole. So you can see, just we've gone into the second quarter now, the stages which a business goes through. So as you're thinking about succession, as you're thinking about transition, as you're thinking about how the business may go into its next evolution and who may be leaders, you're saying, where are we? And keeping in mind, it may not be the whole which you've had. It may be in different parts going forward. It may be totally new businesses. Third quarter. We're now getting into the stage where it's becoming now matured and settled. It's established, well settled, reaping good rewards. It's focused on this stage is about profitability. We want to reduce costs and want to get bureaucracy out of the way so we can actually do something. It's probably the stage now where you need to shake up the advisory board. You need to bring in those who will challenge the status quo and assist the business to finding a new future. We're matured, we're settled, we need to continue. And just a side comment, there is no such thing as a mature market, but there are markets in which businesses have become old and they can no longer grow. It's not the market, it's the business. So we're now in the stage where we're seeking opportunity. We may be losing energy for renewal, we're at risk of losing competitive strength. We need to find a desire for change. We need to find a desire to remake and evolve, to step out. We need an advisory board and people who are going to be challenging the owners and the managers, not just to be complacent, but to chase new opportunities, not just to say, but look how successful we've been. No. We want you to be successful in 10 years' time as well. And then at this third quarter, are we going up or are we going over the edge? Maybe too settled. Too settled now and relying on past efforts, not creating future successes. We need renewal. Advisory board supporting identification of new opportunities and ensuring that innovation and change are part of the business's DNA. So if we just jump back to our diagram again, inception, just born, walking, talking. We're getting up to what I call the first quarter. Establishing identity, developing self-testing limits. The second quarter, we're now well established. Third quarter is where risk comes in. We're a bit mature and a bit settled. We need to find opportunity, otherwise we can begin to go over the top and maybe become too settled. And this is where you come into the last quarter, really settled, slowing down, gone. And this is typically because the market and the customers have gone off and I'm still sitting here. And we don't want that to happen. So this really settled, this slowing down and gone, well, really settled, you need mavericks to come here to really shake things up and begin to rattle the cages and get things moving. You need a new management team, and even when it's too late, well, maybe there's no need for an advisory board, but things can be raised from the ashes. So understanding the life cycle of a business and how your business as it transitions may be shaped and be formed becomes quite important. Remember, legacy. We are seeding, creating our future. Not just taking what I've got and saying, here it is. I'm actually thinking about, well, I'm transitioning it over. This is a really important thing I'm doing here to seed and create the foundation for the future. How do I do that? Does the business just go as a whole? Is that what the kids, the family want? Are there some there who'd like to take something and do something with it? What I've done for the last 40 years might be the future of the next 40 years. Can I actually think about how this may occur? We'll tease this out a bit in the land of business. But to some extent, it's how you've grown the business to where it is now. But your mind has got to be open to opportunity. Opportunity. Land of legacy. My life's work impacting the future, continuity and growth. Legacy. My life's work impacting the future, continuity and growth. We looked at the unexpected, we looked at the new CEO and leadership team, we looked at advisory boards, we looked at life cycles. I believe the greatest legacy which you can do within your family business, is make sure that family business is transitioned across well. Transition across well to suit the new family who's going to take it over. Yes, your family, but new people, not your thinking, their thinking. You know quite well the kids don't think the same as you. Never will, never will. But this business has been great for our family. It has provided for our needs, it has provided for our well-being, it has given us a purpose, and I hope a purpose which has been meaningful in the communities in which it's worked. It has allowed us to stick together as a family, and as the generations expand and become greater, if you have a real sense of worth in your family, you want that to transition across into the next generations, and this is the glue, the transition of the business and the business which can allow that to happen. There is such a richness in this, I just can't find the words to describe it in one sense, but if you know it, you know it. If you don't know it, begin to think about and explore it. So as we close out this land of legacy, what do we need to have done before we leave, before we get our exit pass? Well, build an enduring legacy through a business that will grow without you. Have I done that? Is the business going to grow without me? Identified and plan any other initiatives that reflect the legacy I wish to establish. Do I want to give money into a charity? Do I want to establish a foundation? Let me understand that, because that's going to draw capital out, and I need to understand that in the context of not only your estate planning, but the succession planning. Have I built the foundations for a new leadership team? And the foundations is not just a sense of who they may be, it's training them. It's making sure they're the best they can be. It's making sure they've got the capabilities which they need for the future. It's making sure they function and work as a team. If you remember the land of family, we're saying we're building a unified family to go forward. Well, in the business, we're seeking to build a unified leadership team which can go forward. We've developed a governance structure that will underpin and support the future of your business. We've identified that next CEO, that next leadership team, and people who can be advisory board members who can swing in and help that. And remembering our guiding principle, we're trying to make sure that our legacy will not feed any fiery conflicts. In actual fact, it will quench them and family harmony will be built. The land of legacy. It is such a vital thing for you to focus on. And again, I just close out with that finishing expression. Legacy, my life's work, impacting the future, continuing growth of the business into the family, not only for the family, but the community which the family serves through the business. Employees, suppliers, customers, and the wider circle. Do not allow the goodness which you have created to be lost, and allow that to continue forward and to be your legacy. Thank you for listening to me today and participating, and I wish you all the best in your succession journey, and I will see you in Chapter 9, The Land of Wealth. Thank you. All the best.
Hi everyone, it's Sally here. I work with Richard. You will see coming up on these next 3 slides a URL link to purchase Richard's Transition Guide, which is a 200-page full-color guide in either spiral-bound printed format or a digital PDF format, or both if you wish. A URL link to the page that contains Richard's blog, a library of over 500 articles on family business succession, business strategy, leadership, growth and competitiveness, which you can access freely. And finally, there is an email address for any questions you may have. These are great resources, and I commend them to you.